Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. So about a week ago, I started getting these messages in the comments of my videos from anti-vegans saying, hey, did you hear about this anti-vegan channel I'm not going to mention? You made a video about how some vegan parents got convicted of first-degree murder for killing their kid on a vegan diet. And since then, I've been getting comments on my videos just telling me, hey, veganism's debunked. Vegan parents killed their kid, convicted of murder. And I knew right away this is going to be a bunch of nonsense, because we know for absolute fact that vegan diets are appropriate for children and people in all stages of life. But anyway, yeah, of course we dig a little bit deeper, and here's a headline, one of the big ones, and yes, it has a very shocking, sensationalistic headline about vegans killing their kid and being convicted of murder. And I do understand that a lot of these anti-vegans are very reading challenged. They can't comprehend more than like maybe 5 or 6 words at a time, and this headline is quite long, but if they could manage to absorb what the entire headline says, that their parents were raw foodists and therefore the kid was eating just raw fruits and vegetables. So before I discuss why these comments and complaints from anti-vegans are just complete nonsense, so let's look at some of the facts from the trial. The mother is 39 years old, could be facing life behind bars, and her son Ezra died back in 2019 due to complications from malnutrition. And furthermore, doctors found that this child hadn't been fed any food for approximately 1 week before the child died. Again, how does this have anything to do with being vegan? Apparently this child cried a lot, which would make a lot of sense, and was so skinny that you could see his bones. And this couple had 2 other young children who didn't die but were also severely malnourished. So like most vegans, I'm sure you're quite curious, exactly what did these malnourished children eat? We saw in the headline raw fruits and vegetables, and the only specifics I could see from the article was this mention of they ate primarily mangoes, bananas, avocados, and rambutans. And before I get into a discussion about my problems and issues with those following raw vegan diets, I know for a fact that a vast majority of them believe in some kind of natural health thing. Doctors are to be mistrusted. You can heal all your diseases and health issues solely by eating raw fruits and vegetables because they're the purest, most perfect food in the world.
I believe that a raw vegan diet will reverse every disease known to mankind.
Apparently, these parents, these irresponsible parents, had such beliefs, as it appears that they never once visited a medical doctor despite the serious malnutrition and just sickly, bony appearance of their now deceased child. And to further illustrate how seriously, grotesquely irresponsible these people were, whether they were vegan or fruitarian or not, on the day the child died, while nursing, the child was struggling to breathe. So that's pretty serious if you can't breathe. So instead of seeking any kind of medical attention, any kind of medical professional help, they just went to sleep and the child was dead when they woke up. All right, so let's discuss some of the reasons why this has absolutely nothing to do with veganism. First of all, veganism is a moral stance against animal cruelty. It is not a diet per se. There are an infinite amount of ways you can construct a vegan diet. Some extremely healthy, some very unhealthy, and many in between. But if you look at the opinions of professional health organizations from around the world, again, these are health organizations, not vegan activist groups or anything like that, such as, like, say, the British National Health Service. It's quite clear what they're saying. They're in agreement here that appropriately planned vegan and vegetarian diets are nutritionally adequate. And here is the official position paper of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the largest group of health professionals in the world. And they've arrived at this position after having reviewed and read the relevant scientific research in nutrition. And there's over 100 references in the references section. This is just the abstract. There's peer-reviewed studies, government data, and after having reviewed all this information, they've concluded that appropriately planned vegan diets are nutritionally adequate for all people in all stages of life. That includes pregnant mothers, infants, toddlers, all the way into old age, even for athletes. So in case you're anti-vegan and you have trouble making the connections, connecting the dots together, let me help you out here. In case you didn't notice, what ties all these positions of health organizations from around the world is that they are in a complete agreement when it comes to what works for a vegan diet. They're saying if you're going to follow a vegan diet, do it in a well-planned, appropriately planned, sensible manner manner, meaning don't do extreme, fatty, woo-woo, restrictive ways of eating plants, like say eating only 4 foods your whole life, eliminating completely healthy food groups, like say legumes and potatoes, food groups that are not going to like shorten your life, take a day off your life, cause you to have increased risk of any diseases, despite what raw food leaders try to scare upon their believers. That's just complete nonsense. As you'll also may have noticed if you look at the position papers of these health organizations from around the world, nowhere in them do they say that you should eat only raw food, that you should eat a very restrictive diet and not feed yourself or your baby for a week. Again, these are just the dangerous, extreme ideas that come from the most extreme raw food believers. And speaking on this point, I'm not saying every last single person who follows a raw diet has such extreme beliefs, like say of the beliefs that these negligent parents had. I've met a few sensible raw vegans over the years, not too many, but I've met a few, and they make it work for them. And I've seen it work for some young people too, and children as well. However, I want to point out though that the vast majority of these like YouTube influencers that make "I'm no longer vegan" to wreck my health videos, the vast majority of them, like over 90% of them, were either raw foodists pretty much the whole time they were vegan, or were raw foodists for very long periods of time and did other fatty, extremely restrictive things. And no wonder, go figure, yeah, they wrecked their health and they blame it on a vegan diet, which they never really followed. A sensible, balanced vegan diet, I mean. And speaking of vegan diets, again, I know this is hard for a lot of anti-vegans to absorb information-wise. Let me say it again. Hopefully it'll sink in that there's no such thing as a vegan diet. There's no such thing. Veganism is a moral stance against animal cruelty and exploitation. But we need to eat something, and the only foods that are in accordance with our moral beliefs are plants and mushrooms. And not all vegan diets are necessarily healthy, meaning just because one is eating a vegan diet, one may be eating a completely unhealthy diet, say Oreos and beer, technically vegan and not recommended by any health organizations that I'm aware of. Just like raw food and eating just 4 foods out of the entire like thousands of foods that are perfectly healthy and fine to eat, none of these are recommended by any health organizations around the world for what constitutes a healthy vegan diet. Furthermore, none of these health organizations are saying, hey, starve yourself for a week, or in the case of some raw foodists I know, 30, 60 days. And none of them are saying avoid going to the doctor if you're sick. Avoid going to the doctor if you're not breathing. After seeing the details of this horrible, tragic story, it's perfectly obvious to anyone who's being honest about their understanding of the story, this has nothing to do with veganism. It has everything to do with irresponsible, negligent parents who were not feeding their children properly, such that 3 of their children suffered from severe malnutrition, all the while refusing to go seek medical attention, even as one of their children lies on their bed dying, having trouble breathing. I mean, what reasonable person does this? But no, this is a vegan thing, right? Veganism caused this, not. So unfortunately though, we see headlines like the one I showed earlier with these just grabbing titles like "Vegan Parent Convicted of Murder for Malnutrition of Their Child," which is technically true but doesn't tell the whole story. If you just read past the first line or two like I showed you, it's all you really need to know is that they were following some kind of extreme restrictive raw fruitarian philosophy, which has nothing at all to do with veganism. No vegan organization in the world recommends that you eliminate all cooked foods and avoid seeing the doctor and basically be a negligent, irresponsible parent. So it's a combination of many unfortunate things, and I feel sad for that this tragedy had to happen. And it's just there's no winners in this story. But please, anti-vegans, don't wear this as some kind of feather in your cap, because you're not finding negligent parents being convicted of murder for killing their children who are following a balanced, sensible vegan diet. I've not seen that happen yet. I've seen this happen a few times in the past in stories just like this, where the diets are some kind of extreme restrictive, typically a raw diet like this. But anyway, guys, leave your questions in the comments down below. Let me know what your thoughts on this are, and hit like and join our channel. It's right up by the subscribe button. It's called Join. We have all sorts of cool channel perks. We just offered some new discounts. We have some channel-only member videos, and I just figured out how to do Zoom into my live streams. So we're gonna do some Zoom live streams with our channel members. So anyway, guys, see you next time, and remember, it doesn't suck being vegan.
My smile may be pretty, but it's all filled with lies. together.